Hey guys, welcome back for another video. We got a fun one prepared today. What we'll be doing is we'll be doing our quick picks for all of our conference championships matches we have coming up for 2024 college football season. The regular season's over. We are now closing in on the playoffs too. A lot of these teams who win this coming weekend will be making the playoffs and potentially getting a bye week as conference champs. We're going to run through all 9 of these conference championship games. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop them below and I will respond. Every week we go over every single college football game. We also do the same thing for every NFL game as well, and we break down the money lines, the spreads, the over-unders. If you're a football fan, if you're a sports fan, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can follow along with us. But let's go ahead and get started running. Like I said, this is our quick picks. We're going to be moving quickly. Kicking things off, Conference USA Championship on CBS on December 6th, Friday night at 7 p.m. The 8-4 Western Kentucky versus 8-4 Jacksonville State. This is going to be a fun game. This is Rich Rodriguez back here. We know he's going to run the ball. They have a 64.5% chance to win this game. 4.5-point favorites. The over here is 58 points. This game is going to come down to offenses. Jacksonville State, they're averaging 35.4. Western Kentucky only 26.7, but it's the defenses. Western Kentucky has the edge there, giving up 22. Jacksonville State's giving up 27 points a game, but they're running for 257.4 yards a game. That is a top 10 rushing offense, and Western Kentucky is giving up 208 on the ground. You see that gives Jacksonville State the edge here, especially with Stewart closing in on 1,500 yards on the ground. We have Jacksonville State and their ground game, controlling this game, controlling the time of possession. They win it 30-27. And then our next matchup at 8 p.m. on Fox, the Mountain West Championship. Number 20 UNLV 10-2 versus number 10 Boise 11-1. Whoever wins this game is probably going to be the representative for the group of 5 in the playoff, but Boise has the chance, if they win it, to also get the bye week. They have a 68.7% chance to win this game. 4-point favorites. The over here is 58.5. They beat UNLV earlier this season, but it was a close game. Don't underestimate UNLV. Sluka's out. Williams comes in. This team never looked back. He's closing on 1,800 yards, 17 touchdowns, 4 picks. He also has 9 rushing touchdowns. They're averaging 38.7, running for 254 yards per game themselves, only giving up 22. Boise State has the X factor. To me, the best player in college football. And Madsen having a great season at quarterback, and he can scramble for first downs. They're averaging 40.6. That's a top 10 offense, throwing for 229, running for 254, giving up 23.2. Both teams can run the ball. Who's going to control the line of scrimmage? Who will have the best run game this weekend? And we know Boise, you have the weapon, Ashton Genty, closing in on 2,300 yards, 29 touchdowns, putting up Barry Sanders video game numbers. No one stopped him. I won't believe anyone can until I see it done. I have Boise running their way to victory. They win this one 32-24. And then our final Friday game at 8 p.m. on ABC, the American Championship, 9-3 Tulane versus number 24 Army, 10-1. Tulane has a 66.7% chance to win this game. 5.5-point favorites. The over here is 46.5. They're coming off of a loss, but Mensa having a good season. He can throw it. He can run it. He has 20 touchdowns, 5 picks. They're averaging 39.1. They throw for 226. They run for 213. They're giving up 18.4. That's a top 25 defense. And for Army, we know they play time of possession, triple option football. They're going to run down your throat. They have the number 1 rushing team in the nation. Daly's closing on 900 yards, 8 passing touchdowns, 1 pick. He also has 25 rushing touchdowns. They're averaging 32.7, running for 313 yards a game, only giving up 15.1. They control the time of possession, keep you off the field. The quarterback has 1,400 rushing yards, but Tulane is the more rounded team. I have them winning a close one here, 27-21, but I will agree this is anyone's game. You gotta like the service academies, but I have Tulane edging them out. And then now moving on to our Saturday games, you have the Dr. Pepper Big 12 Championship on ABC at 12 p.m. 16 Iowa State 10-2 versus number 15 Arizona State 10-2. Whoever wins this will potentially get the bye week, but they'll be making the playoffs for sure, catapulting into that top 12. Right now, Iowa State has a 54.9% chance to win this game, but Arizona State 2.5-point favorite. The over under here is 51 points. Iowa State, this is a Matt Campbell team, disciplined, physical team. They have backed who's having a really good year at the quarterback position. They're averaging 31.2. They're giving up 19.6. Their weakness is their rush defense. They give up 174 rushing yards per game. Arizona State is loving that. Levitt having a great season at quarterback, but it's going to be Scadaboo at the running back position. He's their X factor. He is having a really good season, playing a really bad rush defense. Arizona State's going to look to keep this ball on the ground, control time of possession, run it down your throat where you take over physicality-wise fourth quarter. They're averaging 32.1, giving up 21.5. They're running for 195 yards per game. They have Scadaboo versus the Iowa State defense. Who's going to have the edge here that's going to decide this game? I have Arizona State edging it out 27-24, but this is going to be a close game. This game is practically a pick 'em, could go either way. And then at 12 p.m. on ESPN, the MAC Championship, 9-3 Ohio versus 8-4 Miami of Ohio. You have Ohio coming in, they're averaging 28.5, giving up 18.7. Both teams actually have top 25 defenses, and for Miami, they're averaging 24.3, only giving up 17.3. This is one of those games. It could go either way. Miami right now is favored, 2.5-point favorites. The over here is 44.5. Miami wants to win this. They've had a really good rush defense for the last few years. They want to take control of this game, win the MAC. But Ohio is going to be pretty tough to beat because of their rush yards. They're running for 210 yards per game. They're going to control the time of possession. They win this one in a close one, 23-17.
And the next matchup we're going to be taking a look at is the SEC Championship, the big one coming up. Whoever's winning this is going to make sure to be getting that bye week in the playoffs. This game's going to be at 4 p.m. We have number 5 Georgia Bulldogs 10-2 versus number 2 the Texas Longhorns 11-1. Right now the Longhorns have a 61.5% chance to win this game. They are 2.5-point favorites. The over here is 48.5. This is a really big game because Georgia beat the brakes off of the Longhorns game 1, but it's very hard to beat a good team twice. Right now Georgia, they're averaging 34.1. They're throwing for 308. They're running for 128.1. They're giving up 20.5 points a game. Their strength used to be their running game, their offensive line, their defense. The running game is not very strong this season. Their offensive line is not getting enough push over 4 quarters. And their defense, while 20.5 is good for your normal team, that's not very good for a Georgia Bulldogs defense. They are used to being sub 15. And for Texas, they're averaging 34.8, throwing for 286.4, running for 175.5, only giving up 11.7 points a game. That's number 2 next to the Ohio State Buckeyes. This is a really good physical defense, but Texas has not beaten a top 25 team the entire season. But still, this roster's loaded. Ewers, Wisner, Helm, Bond, but we need a good game out of Carson Beck. He has to keep those turnovers down. He's not having his best season this season. As of right now, I have Texas getting back in the win column, winning the SEC first year in the SEC. They win this one 33-24. And the next game we're going to be taking a look at is our Sun Belt Championship. This game is going to be at 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. We have 9-3 Marshall versus 10-2 the Ragin' Cajuns. Right now, the Ragin' Cajuns have a 60.3% chance to win this game. 5.5-point favorites. The over in here is 56.5. Obviously, these teams are pretty evenly matched on the offensive side. You have Marshall coming in. They're averaging 31.9. Throwing for 189, running for 200, and the Ragin' Cajuns are averaging 35.6. They're throwing for 275, running for 181. They do have the slightly better offense. Both teams have very similar defenses, with Marshall giving up 24.8 and the Ragin' Cajuns giving up 22.8. The big thing here is going to be turnovers. Who's going to establish the game through the air? But the key to passing the ball is always going to be the run game, is always going to be the play action. Right now, Marshall does have the better running game, but the Ragin' Cajuns have the better passing game to complement it. I have the Ragin' Cajuns winning this one, 28-24. This game is going to be very close, though. Both of these quarterbacks play efficient football. They both have 2 to 3 picks. They know how to keep the turnovers down, so it's going to be the run game that's going to make the difference in this one. And the next one is one of our biggest games of the championship series. We have number 3 Penn State versus the unanimous number 1, the Oregon Ducks. 12-0, unanimous. This game is going to be at 8 p.m. on CBS, the Big Ten Championship. Right now it's Penn State, who has a 53.7% chance to win this game, but Oregon is the Vegas favorite. 3.5-point favorites. Over here is 49.5. These teams have yet to play this season. Everyone was anticipating a rematch between the Ducks and the Buckeyes, but the Buckeyes laid an egg this past weekend. So Penn State and James Franklin, they are more than happy to slide right up there and take their place. No matter what happens in this game, both of these teams are making the playoffs either way. So the outcome doesn't matter playoff-wise, but it does matter for getting that bye week. Right now, Penn State, they have the veteran team. They have Drew Waller. They're averaging 33.3 a game, throwing for 255, running for 195. One of the better 1-2 running back punches, Allen Singleton. They have Warren at the receiver position. When you need those massive 3rd and long situations, he comes down to every single catch. But it's their defense, top 10, only giving up 14 points a game, only 97 yards on the ground. They get after it. They're very aggressive. They get a lot of tackles for a loss, a lot of sacks, a lot of quarterback pressures. How does Dylan Gabriel and the Oregon offensive line hold up? Right now, they're averaging 35.2 per game, throwing for 286, running for 171. They also have a top 15 defense, only giving up 16.2. They've been more tested this season on their schedule, but this is not the Oregon offense of old, but still, they have a lot of weapons. They have James closing in on 1,200 yards on the ground. They have Johnson. They have Stewart. When their wide receiver core is healthy, it's one of the best in the nation. This game could go either way because it's two very physical teams. The game is going to be decided at the line of scrimmage in the trenches. Who gets the most push on the line? Right now, I have the Oregon Ducks winning it in the fourth quarter. They take this one 28-20, but this is going to be a very close game. And the last game we're going to take a look at is And the next game we're going to be taking a look at is our ACC championship game on ABC at 8 p.m. Number 17, Clemson 9-3, coming off that loss to South Carolina versus number 8, SMU 11-1. Their lone loss was to BYU earlier this season. Right now, the Mustangs have a 53.8% chance to win this game. They are 2.5-point favorites. The over in here is 56 points. This is an interesting game because Clemson is outside of the Final 12, but if they win the ACC, you have to let them in. They are a conference championship from one of the Power 4 conferences, but what if SMU loses? Does the committee push them out in favor of, let's say, Alabama? To me, they should not do that. You should not get penalized for losing a conference championship game if you're already in the top 12 starting out. Right now, Clemson, year 2 under Riley, this offense is much more efficient. Props to Dabo there, but Dabo, you got to hit the portals, got to get more weapons on the outside. They're averaging 35.7. Klubnik having a great season. They're throwing for 285, running for 191, giving up 21.6 points a game. That's not bad, but it's not the Clemson defense of old. And right now for SMU, Rhett Lashley's team is lighting things up on both sides of the ball. Stone goes out, Jennings steps in. This team has never looked back. It's what he can do on the ground, picking up massive yardage whenever he scrambles. They're averaging 39.2. That's a top 10 offense. They're throwing for 270, running for 178. Very balanced. They're only giving up 19.8 points a game. They have the edge on offense, and they have the edge on defense, and they're only giving up 95.8 yards on the ground. Both of these teams want to run the ball. Both of them have playmakers. This game's going to be very close. It's probably going to come down to the end, but I think that SMU's the more rounded team. They also have Brashard Smith. He's closing in on 1,200 yards on the ground. I have SMU winning a shootout. 37-32, first year in the ACC, winning it and getting that bye week. So that's our quick picks for all of our college football games we have coming up for this. This is all the conference championships. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop them below, and I will respond. Thank you.